And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a small game called Six Nimmt. Now, this game is not a new game, although this is a new version of the game from Mayfair. It just came out in 2015, but this game is over 20 years old. It originally was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres in 1994, so you can see that this game has had some staying power. Now, this is a game in which players are all playing cards at the same time and then kind of seeing what happens using a little bit of math. Not difficult math, but it has some interesting things because unlike many games, you get points in this one, but you don't want points. You want the fewest points. The easiest way to explain this game is kind of to show how it works, so let's do that. The deck in Six Nimmt is made up of 104 different cards. Each card is numbered from 1 to 104. And you'll notice that there's different cards and things. None of that really matters. What matters is the points. Most cards are worth 1 point. If it's a multiple of 5, it's 2 points. If it's a multiple of 10, it's 3 points. If it's a double number, it's 5 points. See, the 77 here is 5 points. And then one card is 7 points to 55. All right, that's almost the middle of the deck. So you're going to shuffle these cards, and you're going to deal them out to each of the players. You're going to deal 10 cards to each player, and then you're going to place 4 cards face up in the middle of the table like this. So I have 70, 28, 30, and 40. So these are the 4 cards that are in the middle of the table. Now, each player is going to play over a round. They're going to play all 10 cards from their hand. So everyone will pick 1 card from their hand, they'll reveal it, and then they'll pick a second card from their hand and reveal it, and so on and so forth. So how does this work? Well, first of all, let's look at 4 cards that are played. Let's say these are the 4 cards that are played here. We have 12, a 15, a 41, and a 50. When cards are played, this is a 4-player game, whoever plays the lowest card goes first. So 12 goes first. They're going to put 12 after one of these numbers. Now, 12 does not come after 70, 28, 30, and 40, so they have to take an entire row and put it in front of them as points. You don't want points in this game, so the person 12 is going to take the 28 because it's worth only 1 point. That 12 then replaces the 28. The next number is a 15. The 15 comes after 12, so we just put it in that row. The next person plays a 41. Now the 41 comes after 15, 30, and 40, but it's closest to 40, so it goes after there. And then 50 would come after the 41. And so that's how those 4 cards would be played. So let's take a look at 4 more cards that are played. Someone plays the 9 here. We have the 9, the 11, the 19, and 102. So the 9 has to take a row, so they decide to take the 30 row. And then the 11 card goes after the 9. The 19 goes after the 15, and the 102 goes after the 70. 4 more cards here. We have a 14, 22, 73, and 78. Well, the 14 would go here after the 11. The 22 would go after the 19. The 73 would go here after the 50. And the 78 would go after the 73. Now there's some danger here on the table. Because the game is called Six Nimmt, which means 6 take, whenever someone plays the 6th card in a row, they're going to take all the cards that are in that row. So let's look at 4 more cards that are played here. We have 52, 69, 76, and 101. So 52 comes after 22 here. 69, well, the one that's closest to is after 52. So whoever played the 69 card has to take this entire row. They put that in front of themselves. And now the 69 is over here. 76 comes after the 69. And 101, well, that's close to 76, but it's closer to 78. So that person would get this entire row and take those as points. And that's how you play the game. You're just going to keep playing cards and taking cards. And at the end of each round, you're going to add up the number of points on the cards that you've taken and record those. And then you'll start another round. Now, when players get to a certain number of points, 66 points in the basic game. Then the game ends, and whoever has the fewest points is the winner of the game. You can also play with just the number of cards for the players needed. So let's say you're playing with 5 players, you would play with 54 cards, numbers 1 through 54, rather than playing all the way up to 104. As you can see, it's really not that hard. When you play the cards, at first people are like, which card goes in which row? But it's pretty easy. It comes after, then whichever number it's closest to, it goes in that row. Now, there has been a debate about Six Mint ever since it's come out. And one of the things is basically it's random. And I've heard that from people. In fact, I've met a few people in my life who say they just play the game randomly. They draw a card randomly from their hand and see what happens, and they feel that they do just as well as someone who picks the card. Well, first of all, I do not play with people who do such things. I want to play with people who are at least trying a little bit over the course of the game. Secondly, I guess the randomness here doesn't bother me because it's a light, fun game. And for some reason, it's just really fun to see what happens. You'll play a card assuming, like let's say there's a 75 out there and you have the 76. That's a sure bet that it's going to go after the 75, unless someone plays a lower number and decides to take that row. And now your card comes after the 5th card of another row. And so it's things like that. You know, there's some strategy to the play as you take the cards, or even when you play a lower number than all the cards, which row will you take? Usually you'll take the one with the fewest points, but if you look at the other cards that have been played, you can specifically take a row, which when you take those cards will mess up how the other players have played their cards. So it's not complete luck. There is some options as to what you're picking from your hand, and as you play them on the board and move the cards around. I also enjoy the game because it goes up to 10 players, which is a very unusual thing, and I've actually played with 10 players before, and that may be too many, and it certainly is completely chaotic and random when you play with that many players, but it is something that you can do for fun to pass the time. I think it's really good, though, with groups of 6 and 7 or so. When you have a lot of people and you're not sure exactly what you're going to do, then this is a quick game to pull out. The strategic version of the game where you play, let's say you're playing with 6 players and you play 1 to 64, that's a reasonable version to play. That way you know every card that's in the game. Okay, someone played the 60. I know there's a 61 still in play somewhere. Well, if you play through, 1 through 104, unless you're playing with 10 players, you're never sure what cards are in the game. Usually I prefer strategic versions of games, especially when they involve trick-taking games. But in this case, I don't mind. I don't see the need to separate out the cards. I just play 1 to 104 because it's fun, and it's always fun to have that 55 card in play anyway. Just 7 points. When I doubt, everyone's gets all freaked out. I don't want that card, I want the card. But someone is probably going to get it. This game is easy to set up. It's easy to teach. It's easy to play. When I say easy to teach, again, I have to do with what I just did with you, is show people how it's played, because it's hard to explain. You just say, okay, now watch, and people get it very quickly, and it's one that people will play over and over again. My kids really found a lot of enjoyment in this game. It's a classic, obviously being 20 years old, Six Nimmt. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Up the door!
This question is,